story appears ordinary until you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Hello everyone, this is CoreTV Primetime News. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. In our major story, Chief of Army Staff Kenneth Minima wants officers and men of the Nigerian Army to desist from any form of mutiny in the face of the ongoing campaign against Boko Haram. Also in this program, INEC and the House of Representatives agreed to limit role of the military in future elections in the country. Nigeria Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, unveils surveillance aircraft in collaboration with Air Force to fight sea pirates and other waterways crimes. And outside Nigeria, Israel shuns Cairo peace talks after its rocket fires kills 5 in Gaza. And now the news in detail. The Chief of Army Staff, Kenneth Minima, has warned officers and men of the Nigerian Army to desist from any form of mutiny in the face of the ongoing campaign against the Boko Haram. He warned that any soldier who engages in any form of mutiny is risking a death penalty, as the offense is punishable by firing squad. The Army Chief, who spoke while addressing officers and men of the 82 Division of the Nigerian Army, Enugu, was particularly miffed at the action of soldiers who refused to serve in Maiduguri, Borno State and other parts of the Northeast. Minima also frowned at the actions of some Army officers' wives who recently attempted to stop their husbands from being deployed to go into action against the insurgents. Warning against a repeat of such incident, the Army Chief stressed that the women who have no hand in military postings, which he described as a purely military act, must stay clear. Minima noted that NOAA, the umbrella body of Army officers' wives, was not a trade union and as a result has no reason to interfere in military duties. He also wants soldiers to stay clear of politics and politicians who might want to use them to score political points. He said they should only work for politicians when they are on official assignments during electioneering campaigns or during elections proper. Nigeria's military authorities have dismissed claims of war crimes made by a British newspaper, Daily Independent, in the UK. Defense headquarters says in a statement posted on its website that the newspaper report was unduly judgmental and consistent with the disdain with which a section of the Western media reports Africa. It describes the claim as unsubstantiated and bogus, adding that no credible independent source or government official was contacted to ascertain the veracity. The military also noted that it was preposterous to suggest that 4,000 people have died in military custody. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has threw its weight behind an amendment to the Electoral Act 2010 proposed by the House of Representatives seeking to limit the participation of the military in future elections in the country. INEC Chairman Atai Rujega spoke at the National Assembly Complex in Abuja during a one-day public hearing on the bill to amend the Electoral Act 2010. The public hearing was organized by the Jerry Manwe-led House of Representatives Committee on Electoral Matters. The public hearing was attended by the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Aminu Tambuwal, who promised that the bill was to ensure a level playing ground for all participants in future elections in the country. The National Assembly had, in its proposed amendment, sought the insertion of a new paragraph B in the Section 29, subsection 1 of the Electoral Act to limit the roles of the military to securing the distribution and delivery of electoral materials. Speaking on the insertion of the new paragraph and all the proposed amendments, Jega says given the Commission the statutory power to manage security forces during elections would help to sanitize the nation's electoral processes. A presidential aspirant on the platform of the All Progressives Congress APC, Sam Unda Isaiah, has been speaking on his intention for a better Nigeria ahead of the 2015 general elections. The publisher of the Abuja-based leadership newspapers and advocate of good governance says he's committed to righting the wrong of the past. Unda Isaiah, who visited CoreTV News, explained that his foray into politics is majorly to address the nation's rising corruption portfolio. He lashed out godfatherism and imposition of candidates in Nigerian politics.
Imposition? There will be no imposition at the level of the presidency. Nobody is big enough to do that. If there's got to be consensus, it will be a genuine one. But that somebody in the APC now is big enough to sit down somewhere or a group of people to say that you don't contest, you contest, it won't happen. Nobody is big enough to do that. This is not a small party. It was possible in the ACN. It was possible in the CPC. It was possible in the AMPP, and even in the other faction that joined, the ABGA. It's not possible in the APC now.
Who expressed confidence about becoming the presidential flag bearer of his party, says even though President Goodluck Jonathan has not performed well on matters of security, he has the right, like every Nigerian, to contest for the presidential election in 2015.
I want the president to contest because it's right to contest as long as the elections are free and fair and votes are going to count. I don't know of anybody, unless if you're a sadist, that we want to continue along this trajectory now. I don't know anybody who wants things to continue this way. So, I mean, if you belong to APC now, I think you should be praying that the candidate in the PDP should be the president, because he will have to contest on his record. I don't know what else he's going to say. That people don't like him. That is why he didn't do anything. That's why he didn't provide the basic responsibility of any government, which is to provide security. That is why there's so much corruption. You know. So no, anybody is free to say what. I mean, some people may say that, but why should he not contest if he wants to? He should. If PDP wants to field the president, I think they should. And I think that the APC should be very glad about that.
The victory of the All Progressives Congress at the August 9 Osun governorship poll has been described as a sign of victory for the party in the 2015 general elections. The Commissioner for Information in Osun State, Sunday Akere, says the feat recorded by the APC in the governorship poll has increased the political worth of its citizens across the country following the defeat of the PDP.
February 2015 is by the corner. We must ensure that the change which has manifested and reflected itself in Osun today spreads to the federal. So whenever we say changing now, it is not more federal. If you say changing now, you will say changing.
Former chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Nuhu Ribadu, has denied making disparaging comment about the All Progressives Congress. He also claimed that he did not issue any statement against his former colleagues in the party he damned for the People's Democratic Party. Ribadu says in a post on his Facebook page that any statement that maligned governors Rotimi Amechi and Rabiu Kwankwaso did not come from him. He insisted that he would not be antagonistic to his friends. irrespective of political, religious, regional, and ethnic affiliations. The former presidential candidate of the defunct Action Congress of Nigeria urged his former APC colleagues to disregard any insulting statement purportedly from him. As part of efforts to curb illegal activities on the Nigerian waterways, the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, has announced a collaboration with the Nigerian Air Force. Olajumoke Olatunji has more.
As part of efforts to curb illegalities on the Nigerian waterways, the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, has partnered and signed a memorandum of understanding with the Nigerian Air Force to stem criminal operations on water. ATR-42MP is one of the many satellite devices NIMASA is using to reduce totally criminal activities like oil bunkering, piracies on the Nigerian waterways.
This aircraft is equipped basically with 3 equipments. 1, the AIS, 2, the radar, and 3, the EOS 45. The AIS is an automatic identification system that is installed on both this aircraft and every big vessel flying the waters. With the AIS installed in this aircraft, every vessel 160 nautical miles radius from this aircraft is seen. Basic information about the vessel is also seen: the IMO number, the AMSI number, the port of registry, the name of the vessel, the course, the speed, the droughts, etc. We see all those informations and then we speak with the vessels if necessary.
For practicalization, the plane moves to an exclusive economic zone.
The people on board the vessel, so when we go like this, we try to look out and see if they are, especially for this one, these are friendly vessels, because we know they are security boats for the floating platforms.
Domain awareness capacity, training programs, satellite surveillance maintenance are some of the challenges the agency seeks to overcome with this collaboration.
So it's very definite. To oil thieves, their days are numbered, are all gone. For the pirates, they should either repent or go elsewhere. For some other persons who are flouting our laws, the days ahead are going to be so rough for them. They should repent.
The collaboration as a step in the right direction, because by the time all the stakeholders come together, they work in collaboration, and all hands are on deck to combat all the illegalities in our waterways. Definitely there will be enhancement in safety and security.
The Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, formerly the National Maritime Industry, is started to the responsibility of shipping maritime labor and coastal waters. Olajumoke Olatunji, CoreTV News, Lagos.
Shockingly, the female doctor who was cleared of Ebola virus disease has died in Lagos. Details after this time out.
Nivea Nourishing Body Lotion. Its effective formula with Hydra IQ gives your skin deep and long-lasting nourishment for skin that stays moisturized all day long. Look great, feel great with deeply nourished skin. Nourishing Body Lotion from Nivea.
Daily dose of Scott's Emotion, which combines omega-3, calcium, vitamins A and D, supports the healthy development of your child's brain and body. Scott's Emotion promotes active minds and strong immunity in growing children. New Scott's Orange Flavor Multivitamin Emotion.
You can now watch CoreTV News live from anywhere in the world on our website www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to CoreTV Primetime News.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click CoreTV, leave a space, then News. CoreTV News, a 24-hour news station.
Welcome back. You're watching CoreTV Primetime News. The doctor who contracted Ebola virus from the late Patrick Sawyer is dead. She was the first patient to have been cleared to go home, but family sources confirmed that she's now dead. The 58-year-old consultant was said to have slipped into coma before dying on Tuesday evening. Nigeria's health authorities have yet to confirm the death of the 58-year-old doctor. This brings to 5 the number of Ebola-related deaths recorded in Nigeria. Well, before the successful treatment of 5 Ebola patients in Lagos, not many Nigerians showed enough confidence in the capacity of local hospitals to manage the disease. This was the result of a survey conducted by NOI polls on the perception of Nigerians on Ebola. The poll result made available to CoreTV News in Abuja showed that 7 out of 10 adult Nigerians are not confident in the capacity of local hospitals to provide needed care. It also revealed that 82% of those polled are more concerned about Ebola than other infectious diseases like HIV/AIDS and hepatitis. The poll was conducted before the revelation that 4 more Ebola patients have been successfully treated and cleared to go home. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization says the tropical virus Ebola had killed 84 people in just 3 days, a surge that has pushed the overall death toll from the West African outbreak to 1,229. WHO statistics showed that Liberia broke the brunt of the latest surge in fatalities with 53 deaths, while there were 17 in Sierra Leone and 14 in Guinea. Overall, the UN Health Agency has tallied 2,240 cases of confirmed, probable and suspected Ebola infection since the outbreak began earlier this year. This makes it the deadliest since the discovery of the disease in the former Zaire in the 1970s. Nigeria, the most populous country in Africa, has 15 cases and 4 fatalities according to the WHO data. Of course, earlier we now confirmed as 5. Efforts to contain the spread across West Africa have run up against local distrust of outside doctors and fears that aid workers may carry infection with them. WHO spokesperson Fadela Chaib noted encouraging signs in Nigeria and Guinea.
Of 113 new cases of Ebola virus disease, as well as 84 deaths were reported from Guinea, Liberia, Nigeria, and Sierra Leone. The response of WHO and other partners to the Ebola is continuing in the 4 countries to reduce the likelihood that those who are affected will carry the disease outside their community. The governments have set up quarantine zones in areas of high transmission, including severely affected cities such as Kikidu in Guinea, Kenema and Kailahum in Sierra Leone, and Foya in Liberia. WHO is working with the United Nations, especially with the WFP, to ensure people in the quarantine zone receive regular food, aid, and other non-medical supplies. WFP is now scaling up its program to distribute food to the around 1 million people living in the quarantine zone in Guinea, Liberia, and Sierra Leone. Has been delivered also to hospitals where patients are taken care of and people under quarantine who are not able to leave their homes to purchase food. Providing regular food supplies is a very important means of limiting unnecessary movement.
African Development Bank AFDB has approved additional $60 million grant to help strengthen West Africa's public health systems in response to the Ebola virus disease crisis. The bank says in a statement made available to journalists in Abuja that the grant would support West Africa's response plan to the Ebola outbreak from August to December. It added that the fund is part of a $10 million package, including $150 million in loans and grants, as well as 4 emergency assistance grants of $1 million to each of the 4 affected countries. The rain-lashed streets of Sierra Leone's capital Freetown, finally at peace after a decade of civil war, is presently in the grip of a new and equally deadly adversary, the Ebola virus. Freetown may have been spared the brunt of an epidemic cutting a swath through West Africa, but the tropical fever is the only topic of conversation in a city festooned with incongruously vibrant banners reminding people of the ever-present threat. There's no cure, no established drug therapy, and no vaccine to protect victims against the lethal hemorrhagic fever which the virus causes, breaking down vital organs until they zip out of the host's lungs, skin, and eyes. Ebola has killed over 1,000 people in the current outbreak, more than half of those it has infected, spreading from southern Guinea to Liberia, Sierra Leone, and then Nigeria.
So I'm afraid, and this is the virus, you have a transparent, when you have a contact with someone who have it will contact to you back.
Of us are staying at home, me and my family, we finish by all the food, we are staying at home, we are not going anywhere. We are not okay with this kind of life anyway. I'm just feeling bad.
I used to play around with my friends, but now it's like I'm limiting the play now. So I don't do too much of playing again with some people, you know, like I used to do. Even I can say about my girlfriend, I don't, not all the time again, I do touch her.
Maybe when someone comes, you don't know what, like, it's just for safety. If someone was talking to you and like the air coming out of his mouth, it may transfer.
Back at home, determined to prevent the spread of the deadly Ebola virus in the state, the Osun State government has embarked on a sensitization campaign for environmental and health workers. The sensitization programs took place at the Ministry of Environment at the State Secretariat in Abere, Osogbo. Rashid was there and filed in this report.
Osun State is one of the states in Nigeria that has not recorded any case of Ebola. In an effort to maintain this clean record, the Osun State Ministry of Environment has organized a sensitization program for environmental workers on the need to know that the Ebola virus is very real and evident in Nigeria against the rumor going on in some quarters that Ebola is a hoax.
As I speak to you now, there's an ongoing training for our doctors and nurses in our ministry on how to use the personal protective equipment and any other thing that has to do with Ebola. So from our ministry, we are up and about. We are not resting on our hours. We are doing everything humanly possible from the head point of view to make sure that we do not have Ebola. But at least we just have to make sure that there's no denial, you know, that because some people might want to say, oh, these people have started again, there's something called Ebola. There is Ebola. It is real. It is here with us in Nigeria. And the earlier we know that, the better, so that we do not just overlook it. We pray that we will not have Ebola in Osun.
The Commissioner for Environment, Bukola Oyawe, hammers on the importance of keeping personal hygiene in order to prevent the outbreak of the disease in Osun.
The first line of defense, because in preventive medicine, if you can prevent a disease, you don't have to spend money in curing it. So the governor has put together a very large committee comprising of Ministry of Health, Environment, Agric Education, Tourism, and all of us, to fight against Ebola. And number one instrument of fighting against Ebola in Osun is to make sure that Ebola does not come at all to Osun.
Bola Ilori, the special advisor to Governor Raul Faregbeshola on Environment, reads Riot Act to all who may want to play smart on health and environmental officials that all is set to prevent the outbreak of Ebola in Osun, particularly during the Osun-Osogbo festival.
That he can come and bath in River Osun for Ebola cure will be quarantined in Osun. The state has created 4 quarantine centers. So if you are sick, it's better go and seek medical advice. Don't come and seek River Osun, because if you are caught here, you will be quarantined here.
The Ministry of Environment seized the opportunity to thank the staff of the ministry for supporting and voting for Raul Faregbeshola as their promised and non-discriminatory performance from Raul Faregbeshola in his second term. Rashid, CoreTV News, Oshobo.
Irrespective of the news of the Ebola virus disease, the Nigerian Bar Association is going ahead with its annual general conference slated for Owerri, Imo State, in spite of calls for its postponement. To this end, it has made provision for automatic hand sanitizers and personal protective equipment, as well as set up a 24-hour helpline to check possible spread of Ebola. Outgoing NBA President Okewale, who discussed this at a pre-conference press briefing in Abuja, says over 10,000 participants are expected.
We have had some concerns. Naturally, every responsible leadership must pay acute attention to that issue. We have done that, and why generally urging our colleagues to nudge up their personal hygiene, wash your hands regularly, minimize contacts. These are the basic rules. But on our part, we have made provisions, the following provisions. We have purchased hand, bacteria and virus sanitizers, which will be given to every conferee. There will be a sanitizer, hand sanitizer in your conference bag as you get your conference bag. And we also have latex gloves and masks for our service providers deployed to man registration and marshals if necessary. Also we have non-contact laser guns for temperature measuring and screening of participants.
Away from health-related issues, federal government is set to conduct a national housing survey as part of efforts to remedy the country's housing deficit, estimated at 17 million. Minister for Lands, Housing and Urban Development, Akon Yakenye, discussed this during an interactive media session in Abuja. According to her, the survey will be preceded by a pilot study which will enable government to provide adequate and sustainable housing for Nigerians. The minister added that an inventory of all government-owned land and property will be taken in order to free underutilized lands for housing development.
I wish to stress that this is the first time for a very long time that a housing survey is being undertaken in the country, specifically to address the concerns of the housing and urban development sector. A ministerial committee has also been established to undertake the inventory and auditing of all federal lands and landed property. The objective is to update our database on the status of all federal lands and landed property in the country in order to free underutilized lands for housing development and optimize the use of all federal government landed property.
Federal government matches words with action as it kickstarted the disbursement of a $220 million, of course, money for the small and medium-scale enterprises. Find out more of the story and all the business on our business news after this break. Stay with us.
You can now watch CoreTV News live from anywhere in the world on our website, www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to CoreTV Primetime Days.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click CoreTV, leave a space, then News. CoreTV News, a 24-hour news station.
Nigerians continue to travel the city of Lagos.
There is still a poor level of
Be the first to know from the north, south, east, west and around Africa. We break the news.
We are one Nigeria.
Now you can catch all the actions live as the news breaks. We are CoreTV News.
Welcome to CoreTV,
a 24-hour news station.
Welcome you to From the Ivory Tower. And happenings around the country, varsity teachers get to air their views. Students are actually not left out. We bring you intellectual ends from the events happening around you. It is dedicated to educating the populace with a spice of entertainment.
From the Ivory Tower, Tuesdays, only on CoreTV News.
And thanks for joining us Business News tonight. I am Bimbo Fagade. The federal government has begun disbursing 220 billion naira fund from the Central Bank of Nigeria for the micro, small and medium enterprises in the country. The disbursement was a high point of the CBN's 8th annual conference and entrepreneurship awards in Abuja. Speaking at the occasion, President Jonathan expressed government's commitment to addressing challenges confronting small and medium-scale businesses.
Micro, small and medium enterprises are recognized all over the world as the engine of growth in any development-oriented economy. Due to their inherent labor-intensive production processes, they also provide a viable platform for job creation globally. All over the developed world, the contributions of MSMEs to GDP average about 47%. This shows clearly how important the small and medium, micro, small and medium scale enterprises are to us. As reported by the Small Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria, there are about 17.3 million SMEs. Of course, I can't mention that also in Nigeria. But this is quite small compared to countries like Indonesia, slightly more than 1% of population, but they have about 40 million MSMEs. So we must also get there and even go beyond.
As part of poverty elevation strategies by the federal government, about 30 million Nigerians have benefited from the conditional grants scheme under the Millennium Development Goal Program. At the opening ceremony of the ongoing Presidential Summit on MDGs and the post-2015 agenda in Abuja, the Senior Special Assistant to the President, Precious Benel, says that project executed under the scheme in 2011 has reached more than 20 million people, while it scaled up to about 30 million in 2012. In her opening remarks, Benel says that the MDGs have helped to galvanize local and international efforts aimed at improving the lives of the poor and the most vulnerable in the society, since the Millennium Declaration was signed in New York in September 2000. Nigeria's Composite Price Index, which measures the average change in inflation rate, has risen marginally by 8.3% in July, up by 0.1 percentage point from the 8.2% recorded in the preceding month. The National Bureau of Statistics in Abuja attributed the faster pace of the price increase to an increase in all divisions that contribute to the index, particularly in the food and core sub-indices. The Bureau reported that food prices, which have been on upward swing since February, edged higher to 9.9%, up from 9.8% in June, due to higher prices of bread and cereals, meat and fish groups, noting, however, that the pace of the increase is weighed upon by slower increases in the dairy, sugar, jam, honey, chocolates, and confectionery, coffee, tea, and cocoa groups. The Debt Management Office says Nigeria's foreign debt rose 40% to $9.38 billion from its last publicly available data of $6.7 billion as of March 2013. The Debt Office valued local debt at 8.9 trillion naira, up 37.1% from the 6.49 trillion naira declared in March 2013. But the debt to GDP ratio is 12.51% of its rebased GDP, down from 21% at end March 2013. Nigeria rebased its GDP calculation in April, almost doubling its GDP to more than $500 billion. Meanwhile, the Federal Allocation Committee has distributed 654.58 billion naira among the three tiers of government. The figure is far less than the 755 billion naira allocated for June 2015. Minister of State for Finance, Bashir Yugoda, explained after the meeting that the dip in revenue was as a result of series of shutdown of pipelines.
The gross statutory revenue for the month of August is 630 billion naira, 325. The transfer to excess crude account is 6.2 billion. The transfer to SURP is 35 billion. The transfer to domestic crude is also 35 billion naira. So this leaves us with the distributable statutory allocation of 553 billion. Now we also had to take into consideration the revenue coming in from the VAT, which is 65.467 billion. This is the gross amount, out of which the 4% cost of collection goes to Federal Inland Revenue Service, while the federal, state, and local government share it in this format. Federal government, 15%, the state governments, 50%, local government council, 35%. So the grand summary for the month of August, after taking into consideration the statutory allocation, the VAT, the total distributable amount, and the SURP component, the grand total is 654 billion 585 million naira. And of course, the balance as at today, 19 August, for our excess crude account stands at 4 billion 115 million US dollars.
And on stock reports, equity transactions on the Nigeria Stock Exchange on Tuesday ended on a negative note. The LSE share depreciated by 441.45 points to close lower at 41,812.17 basis points. Market capitalization dropped to close lower at 13,806 trillion naira. In all, a total of 304 million shares valued at 3.62 billion naira were exchanged in 5,051 deals. Report shows that Nigerian Breweries PLC topped the Guinness chart, followed by Dangote Cement PLC, Corn Oil PLC, Guinness PLC, and Port Oil PLC. On the other hand, Nestle Food PLC led the losers chart, followed by International Breweries PLC, Ashoka Cements PLC, Presco PLC, and UACN PLC. Meanwhile, here are the top 5 trades. Business Tonight. My name is Bimbo Fagade, and Nifemi Ogutoye is on standby with the rest of the news.
You can now watch CoreTV News live from anywhere in the world on our website, www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to CoreTV Primetime News.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click CoreTV, leave a space, then News. CoreTV News, a 24-hour news station.
One continent, 54 countries, over 2,000 languages, but united with similar interests. As news breaks, we give you in-depth analysis around Africa every Monday on CoreTV News.
On sports tonight, the uncertainty that has loomed over the August 26th date for the elective Congress of the Nigeria Football Federation has finally been put to rest. A communique issued on Tuesday at the end of NFF's executive committee meeting revealed that the General Assembly was still held in Warri, Delta State, as scheduled. The resolution follows a unanimous agreement that there was no need for a new roadmap for the forthcoming elections, and while advising stakeholders to refrain from acts that could cause divisions in the system, the committee also announced the lifting of bans on affected members. They include Taiwo Gunjabi, Adedapo Lam Adeshino, Chikelu Iluenusi, and Harrison Jala. The committee further revealed that the present board of the Nigeria National League, Women's League and Nationwide League will be presented to Congress for approval to serve out. Their tenure, of course, and the meeting, which presided over by Aminu Megari, had 9 members in attendance, with Chief Mike Hume conspicuously absent. The stories outside Nigeria, Israel and Palestine resumed fire across the Gaza border on Tuesday, sparking panic across the war-torn enclave, where residents fled for cover as Israeli aircraft struck. A military spokeswoman says the 2 rockets hit southern Israel during the late afternoon and early evening, several hours before a 24-hour truce was to expire. 2 more were intercepted by missile defenses. Israel ordered its negotiators back from ceasefire talks in Cairo, and the Israeli military says warplanes hit Gaza. The fighting shattered 9 days of relative quiet in the skies over Gaza and cast a dark shadow over Egyptian-mediated efforts to hammer out a longer-term truce. The chief Palestinian negotiator in Cairo says on Tuesday that no progress had been made. The Palestinian delegation presented the demands for a truce to Egyptian mediators and were awaiting Israel's response. Hundreds of Palestinians were seen streaming out of Shajaya, an eastern area of Gaza City, which has been devastated by more than a month of fighting between Israel and the militant Islamist Hamas movement. 5 Palestinians were wounded, 3 in the northern area of Beit Lahia, 2 of them children, and 2 boys aged 6 and 9 in the southern city of Rafah, according to the Gaza Emergency Services spokesman. The UN Refugee Agency says it was poised to mount a massive aid operation for 500,000 Iraqis driven from their homes by jihadist rebels. UN spokesman Andrea Edwards says the organization was set to launch one of its largest aid, aimed at close to 500,000 Iraqi refugees. Jihadist fighters from the Islamic State group, which had already occupied parts of Syria, launched an offensive in Iraq on June 9 and soon took over much of the country's Sunni heartland. The jihadists, who have declared a caliphate in a region straddling the Iraq-Syria border, have brought Iraq to the brink of breakup. Edwards says the United Nations estimates that 1.2 million Iraqis have been displaced by fighting this year, ahead of the extraordinary and push set to begin Wednesday.
Because of this push is on improving living conditions for the displaced in the region, particularly people without shelter or housing. Conditions remain desperate for those without access to suitable shelter, for people struggling to find food and water to feed their families, and for those without access to primary medical care. Iraq's current humanitarian challenges are immense. Most of the displaced are still living in schools, mosques, churches, unfinished buildings and elsewhere.
And that's been the show tonight. On behalf of the entire news team, I am Nifemi Oguntoye, wishing you a pleasant night rest.